Hey everyone, welcome back to Cody Tarot. I'm your tarot reader, Cody. So for today's pick a card, we're going to be doing one about your soulmate. So everything about your soulmate. I'm going to be covering mainly personality characteristics. If I notice anything about looks or appearances or something, I'm going to point that out. But usually I don't see that kind of stuff in my readings. But if I do see it, I'll point it out for sure. Let's get into the reading. I have a whole bunch of new crystals. If you've been on my channel before, you'll notice some of the crystals are new and you haven't seen them before. I just got back from a rock and gem show in Arizona and got these beautiful pieces to show you guys today and for you to select from. So for our first group, we have Pyrite. That is our first group. Our second group is Heliodor. Our third group is Green Jade. And our last group is Blue Aragonite. So take all the time you need to pick your crystal. You can pause the video here if you need to. After you're done selecting your crystal, you can scroll to the timestamp in the comment section or in the description box and go to your part of the reading. Without further ado, let's get into it. With everything about your soulmate, let's get into pile one. Hey, group one, this is if you picked the Pyrite piece right here. Such a pretty and shiny stone. Radiant, as you probably are radiant. Anyway, so these are the cards that flipped up upright for you guys. Bobcat, Spirit, Life is a Mystery, Creativity, Networker, and Warrior for the archetype cards. The tarot cards I had to draw, and same with the Love Story Oracle card I drew. So we'll be flipping those over now. We have Influence. For your tarot cards, we have King of Wands, the Moon, Three of Swords, and the World. Let me look at this Warrior card for a second. Okay, let's get into your reading. So first we have a few things I want to point out to start with. Creativity. Your soulmate, or the person you're inquiring about, your soulmate is basically with creativity. By all above and all below, let me connect, let my creativity flow. This is a very creative person, and specifically a very artistic person. This person is probably going to be someone who dabbles in either like painting or sculpture, or photography, something like that, or they like design their own clothes, or whatever it is. They're actually really renowned at this, whatever it is. So with the King of Wands upright, they've reached this, they're a master of this craft, right? They're a master of this talent, a master of this discipline. They have a lot of strong willpower and they see all their projects through to completion. The thing is, what I'm seeing here with the King of Wands, I don't know if you can see this, but in the King of Wands, he has a mirror and he's holding it up around him. And around him, there's like fire, and kind of reminds me of like destruction or being kind of in a chaotic environment. But this mirror is like reflecting the fire back at itself, you know? So this is really someone who, with their art, they can kind of see the chaos in the ensuing world, and they can kind of use their art as a mirror to that world to show them how they're behaving or how they're reacting or how they're basically being, how they're being basically. I can see, even though your soulmate is a very creative person and they're very like artistic, they're by no means the most sensitive. They're actually a combination of sensitivity and strength, I guess is the best way to put it. Bobcat, Spirit, Life is a Mystery is someone who's in tune with kind of like the mystical realms of things, in tune with kind of like just the fact that those mystical realms can present any sort of surprise in your environment and you can accept it. This is a type of person who's going to be like very open to the unknown, the paranormal, all those things, and kind of accept it without kind of batting an eye about it. But at the same time, they have kind of like a strength about them at the same time. So with warrior and networker, the first thing with warriors, what I'm noticing is this is a very tough person, a very strong person. So they're, like I said, they're a little bit of sensitive and a little bit of like tough. They're a little combination of both. And with the moon card here, this just shows that there's a lot of illusions surrounding them, a lot of mysteries surrounding them. And we see that again here with Bobcat Spirit, life is a mystery. They are like a mystery to others, and they do accept the mystery of life itself. Something interesting about them with networker is that they've had to learn how to network and kind of become a social, I don't know if the chameleon's the right word. What's it called where you have to spread yourself thinner than you want to? They've had to reach far and wide to achieve their goals in life. And we see that again here with the World card. This is the type of person who not only comes full circle and completes their projects. This is not someone who procrastinates. This is not someone who kind of lets things slide or lets things go. This is someone who completes all their projects and brings their investments full circle. And with networker, with the world, it's also double influence here, that they have to branch out. They have to spread out beyond their own little boundaries and go to the world, go to different places in the world. So this person, if they're not a worldly person, like for example, they don't travel to other countries often or something like that, what they do is they just, they do a lot of trips around their home and stuff like that. And basically their job, their creative activity or whatever creative job they do puts them in touch with different people. So a good example for this could be like, they could be maybe like an actor, right? And an actor would have to deal with a lot of different people and a lot of different projects to like branch out and kind of network and correlate like a vibe basically to get where they want to go. And they can also be an artist. Artists have to network as well. They're definitely a tough-minded person in the sense that they don't let people take advantage of them. So, for example, they're probably pretty smart with money, but at the same time, they do have a sensitivity that shows in their creative projects. One thing I'm seeing here, and this applies to you and them, when you meet them, if you know who this person is already, if this person is ringing a bell and you're like aware and you know who your soulmate is already and you just came to this reading for like confirmation, you're going to recognize these traits already. But if this person's new to you, this will be kind of like new to you. With the Three of Swords person, this person is in the highest sense of the word, a healer. They can take traumatic or pain points in their life and they use them and make them, show them through their art. So they not only reflect to the world what they have, what the world is like, how do I put this? The world is kind of this fire around this King of Wands, right? They're all kind of the chaotic dancing flames around them. Now, when this person gets burned by the world, they not only just are strong about it, they're sensitive, but they're strong. They deal with it with kind of like grace. They reflect it back to the world in their art. So they take the pain and the hurt they experience and they create art with it and they reflect it back to the world. Now, if this person hasn't really tapped into their creative potential in a very physical, tangible way, for example, they're still unsettled with their job, or they're still quite young and they haven't gotten involved in their career yet or found a medium to use their career. This is the type of person who reflects people's attitudes back to them when they meet them in person. So they might kind of like mirror what the other person's giving them. And if they get burned at all, they will kind of bite back a little bit with some kind of remark about that other person's character. So there's kind of this equal give and exchange. I'm thinking a lot of the Justice card in a sense, because the Justice card has those balancing scales on one hand and the sword of truth in the other. And so it's almost like they are able to wield the sword when need be, but at the same time, they have those scales where they keep things kind of balanced. Whatever gets thrown their way, they throw back out to the world. And this creates this kind of mysterious vibe about them. With the Moon card here, this is indicating that they operate in these illusions. So they have the ability to pierce these illusions and at the same time fortify them. So it works really well to their advantage. If they need to remain hidden and away from the world, they can do that. They not only can reflect and show the world back what the world is, but they know how to maneuver in this territory as well. It's pretty rare when they get attacked or when someone attacks them, because I feel like they instinctively know how to evade certain blows and stuff like that. Like a cat, they kind of have 9 lives. They kind of get out of situations really easily. If you see this woman, she is dancing with this bear, and this bear could be very, very scary, right? Because it's this giant polar bear, but she's basically just dancing with it peacefully. You know, it's kind of this person has a very solid balance between their docile and their wild side. They know how to balance the two, basically. With influence, this is pointing back to, once again, with the healing card, how you're going to see this, something you're going to see about them that you know. With the fact that they're a healer, or they kind of transmute their physical pain into like lessons or experiences for other people to witness and stuff, and it helps them work through their own shadows and darkness. This person also, with their close ones and with the people that they care about, which you would be included in that as their soulmate, they have a really strong amount of influence over these people. So for example, they're really good at giving advice and influencing people in times of like difficult situations. I don't think they would ever use this ability on you, but they have almost like a seductive voice in the sense that how do I put this? They could basically, if they wanted to, they could be pretty manipulative, specifically with their voice, vocally manipulative. But I don't see them using this too often. It really depends on their experiences in life and how much they feel that they need to use this thing in their world. You know, I feel like if this person was dealt an unfair hand with this warrior and networker card, they would bring in this tough-minded aspect. Whatever was dealt to them, remember with that mirror here, they kind of process and reflect back out to the world. So in certain cases, their art, if they have been dealt a heavy hand in the world, like they've experienced a lot of darkness and trauma and stuff, they heal through it, but it's going to affect their art. Their art's going to have more of a darker tone to it, or a twist to it that kind of has more of like a, perverse is not the right word. Basically just like a slight darkness to their work, or it can go into different territories depending on what kind of pain they've experienced, you know? And with influence here, that can kind of go into their art, and that kind of can influence the people around them. And at the same time, they can kind of be influential. They can, for example, if people are kind of like, bite, like with the biting example where people would like bite them and they bite back, basically, they can kind of use their words to kind of create a more desired effect with the people around them. Yeah, I'm definitely saying that this person has like two sides to their nature. On one hand, they have a very docile, sensitive side, and on the other hand, they have a warrior kind of wild side to them. With Bobcat Spirit, I'm seeing this here. I'm seeing it in multiple places in the reading. For example, Bobcat Spirit, bobcats being like a wild beast, but at the same time resembling like a house cat. Or like with the warrior and the Three of Swords here, we have like a tough-minded person, and then we have the sensitivity of the Three of Swords, you know, the pain or the sensitivity that's felt. And with the Moon card, we have this human person, this kind of like civilized version of something versus the wild kind of animal version dancing together, you know? So there's this kind of element that they have both sides to their nature. This is really lovely, especially if you're the type of person who throughout your life, you've kind of experienced both sides of the coin and you found that you really don't fit into either world. So if you're watching this reading and you feel like you kind of like have been with more civilized people, or more people who are like how do I put this? Like, I guess you could say vanilla is the right word. Or you've been with people who have a more wilder side, a more dark side, a more like ferocious side, right? That one was probably too intense and the other was probably too bland for you. This is a good person because they have the best of both worlds. They know how to when to use this. Basically, they'll either be civilized and they'll know how to use this wildness in like spontaneous, creative ways within that civilized pattern, or on the flip side, they'll be wild with like a gentle side to them. So they might be like very like do a lot of risk taking, or be kind of like aggressive, but at the same time very gentle and caring with those that are like close with them. Yeah, it's very important that this person finds a creative outlet, I'm seeing, and I think this is part of their life mission, is to find a way to express what they're seeing in the world and show that back to the world, to kind of get that open dialogue going back and forth, you know? Because like I said, like if don't find some kind of creative artistic way to express this, they'll use this through their words or their actions, and it can create more of like manipulation was kind of the vibe I was getting if they've gone down a bad path. you know, and so that kind of could be a thing here. With influence also though, what I was trying to say earlier with you is they're going to be such a strong influence on your life. Like they're going to have a lot of great ideas for you, and they're going to come to you with a lot of like philosophy is not the right word. Basically, they're going to have a solid action plan for you whenever you're going through something in your life. And they're going to kind of like do this in a subtle way where if you don't know where to go, or you're like looking for different options or solutions, they're kind of like, in a sense, the voice of reason, or they're the voice of forward momentum. That's what I'm trying to say. They're kind of like the voice of forward momentum. So they'll basically say something and it can kind of ease your doubts or your anxieties and kind of get you moving in the correct direction again. Yeah. I think that's all I'm saying. I feel like with this person with networker, because this networker card is purple and this creativity card is purple, they probably have to network for their career. And it's probably not something that they're naturally, instinctively how do I put this? They're maybe not that good at it. But the thing is because of how they've reflected the world back at the world, basically, when the world shows them that's their side and they reflect that back to the world, they've been able to maneuver in these flames very, very effectively. But I feel like for them, it's almost like they don't want to be in the middle of the flames. They kind of want to be peaceful. Like we kind of see this woman dancing with the bear. They want kind of like the peaceful serenity of the moonlight, the watery realms versus the fiery realms. So this could be something where they have to be more assertive in their work life, and then they're more sensitive in their private life. But yeah, with networker and creativity also, I see this because they're both purple tying in with the crown chakra. And one thing that I'm seeing here is that with the crown chakra, it's very in tune with like how they work and they get their job done. It's almost like God-given or delivered to them by angels or deities as basically how they get their work done and what they do for their work and their job. And also who they network with. The people that they network with, you'll feel like they're kind of meant to meet those people. One thing I'm noticing in this moon card too is there are a lot of swans in the bottom of the card. I don't know if you can see that. There's a swan there, there, and there. And I see swans as the type of creatures that are kind of like one of the more beautiful creatures, or the creatures that represent physical beauty. And so they might actually have a lot of people around them that are very beautiful, but they themselves might not be the most like, with the warrior and the wild side and the domestic side, I can see them kind of being like one of two things, like where they're not that beautiful of a person, but they like style themselves beautifully, they dress beautifully, they do like wonderful things with like either like makeup or their grooming or something, where they kind of use what they work with to their advantage. Or on the other hand, they were like born really beautiful and they kind of have to, or they kind of like disregarded their beauty in a sense because they just didn't have to really work that hard at it. So they never had to like kind of achieve, how do I put this? They never had to go through the struggle to kind of like reach the beauty of the ones that are around them because they were already born into it. So they might care less about those types of things. They might not dress the best, or, you know, they might not be that good with makeup if they're a woman, or they're kind of just maybe like poor grooming, or they just kind of like, they're more rugged around the edges. Like think of like your typical like kind of like lumberjack guy, or someone who kind of like doesn't take too much care of their appearance, but they're still very attractive. That's something that I'm seeing. But yeah, it's almost like with these people that are around them, this network and the beautiful people that they have to deal with, I'm definitely getting like actor vibes, like someone who's kind of like in some kind of business with either like actors or like models or something like that, or basically something where they had to compete with their environment a little bit as far as like the beauty around them. This could even be if they're an artist competing with other artists who created really beautiful work, you know, and the example could go to that point where it's like, maybe they were born with like a really beautiful artistic gift or artistic style, and they always felt like they fit in with other artists. So then they never really tried too hard to improve upon their artwork, or they have like a really solid, like fine technique with their art because they felt like they were kind of like, if they felt like they couldn't compete with their environment, they just worked their way to like match their environment basically. Very cool. I think that's about it for this reading. I am going to end the reading there. If you like the reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like this reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick-a cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, I'm gonna bid you adieu, and I really enjoyed reading for you, and we're going to move on to group number 2 with the Heliodor. Hey, group 2. This is if you picked the Heliodor. It's kind of this like, it's like yellow in the sunlight, and then in like room light, it's like this limeish green kind of, sorry, I drifted off there for a second. It's like this limeish green. Anyway, I really like fell in love with this stone when I picked it up at the gym show this past weekend. Okay, so these are the cards, the oracle cards that flipped upright, and then we're going to flip over the other ones and then get into your reading. So with Bad Spirit, a rebirth is assured. That's your animal oracle card for your soulmate. Energy is the other one, and you have Artist and Healer. So let's get into the rest of the cards right now. We have Forgiveness, and for your tarot cards, we have 6 of Pentacles, Ace of Cups, the Emperor, and 6 of Chalices. Okay, let's get into your reading. So, everything about your soulmate. I'm going to put this out there just for a few of you. Your soulmate might be someone who you like knew was your soulmate in your past, and then they're separated from you, and they're going to come back and renew the connection. That's something for some of you, but for most of you, this soulmate is someone who does that with people. So if they ever get into a fight with someone, they make sure to be the one that plays the diplomat and like renews the energy with that person. I said energy because energy's right here. It's funny, but this energy card is actually just showing that they basically have a lot of energy. That this person's more of an energetic person, a more active, engaging person who is kind of like, just has a lot of energy to either get stuff done or like to do different activities, basically. We have 2 6s right here on either side of this Ace of Cups and this Emperor, and it's reminding me of harmony. And in the original versions of the 6 of Cups and the 6 of Pentacles, there is one person giving something to another person. There's either one child giving something to a younger child, or there is a person like a patron or something giving money to these 2 beggars below him. And that's something that's really interesting here, is this person has like a very generous nature, a very giving nature. And basically with the Ace of Chalices, they're overflowing with emotion, overflowing with love, overflowing with positivity. They're inspired to make connections with people, and at the same time, they're inspired to heal connections with people. They're also with the Emperor right here. They're a very structured and ordered person. And I don't know if that's like easily apparent to others when they first meet this person. I feel like your soulmate, first off, comes off as a very energetic and giving and generous person. They definitely know how to like play the diplomat in their relationships. We have Forgiveness card over here. This is just indicating more so how they interact with you, but also how they interact with others in this particular case. But forgiveness is something where it's like, if you do something to this person and you either hurt them unintentionally or intentionally or whatever, if you hurt them, they're gonna forgive you. This is the type of person who doesn't want to hold grudges. This is the type of person who kind of wants to be that diplomatic force in their loved ones' lives. With Artist and Healer, this is just indicating that it's kind of like they play diplomat with people's relationships, maybe not just their own, especially if they don't have too many relationships to fix in their life, if they're on good terms with everyone at any given moment. This is not the type of person to like sabotage a relationship just to fix it later. They're not the type of person to like play fight, and then basically because they're play fighting with you, then they can fix it later, and then they can fight with you again, then fix it later. Not like that at all. This is the type of person who just is really good at being a diplomat. They're not the type of person to sabotage a relationship. However, if the other party is unconsciously sabotaging the relationship or has some kind of blocks up where they're kind of putting up barriers to the connection, this is the type of person who's going to help them work through these blocks. And they do that with people in their life that are directly connected to them. They also do it with people in their life that are connected, that are people who are connected that they know of, or that they're like working with, basically. As far as like a career or a job position, this person would be an excellent counselor, or like, for example, like a marital counselor, or like someone who works with families or couples, or like relationships, basically, like the connections between relationships. They're really good at healing those. And they do it in an artistic way. It's not like anyone else can kind of just like copy their methods. They do it based on like a sense of like kind of intuition, and they do it with kind of like this card right here specifically refers to symbols and using symbols to heal. So they might have something of like a Carl Jung type of complex where they see symbols and images in their mind, and it kind of directs them as to how to heal certain relationships in their life. Yeah, something strongly that's coming through too is like, this is the type of person with the 6 of Cups here and the 6 of Pentacles. I always see the 6 of Pentacles as like a generous person in old age, or after you've achieved a large amount of success and being generous. And then the 6 of Cups I always see as like, being generous even though you might not have a lot. You're young too, and you're still generous with the younger generation, even though you're both very young, So this person's generosity crosses all spectrums, They're not the type to like save securely for the future and then be very generous once they're like really rich and wealthy and to donate to charities and stuff like that. And at the same time, they're not the types that kind of were like generous in their youth and got jaded when they're older. They kind of keep their generosity alive throughout their whole life. Yeah, and again with this symbols and like seeing things, they kind of see things from a different perspective. That's kind of the bat spirit here, hanging upside down and seeing things from a different perspective, kind of like the hangman. There's an element here where they kind of see things that people don't see in connections and relationships, that if people just saw those things, it would heal their connections, right? It would heal those relationships. They kind of see the good in different connections and how people can benefit and mutually benefit from each other, and the best way people can interact with each other. And that's something that's like coming through really strong. Actually, I just got chills saying that, so that's a double confirmation. And with forgiveness, this is the type of person, like if, for example, this would be a perfect person for you. If you came to this pick a card, you're the type of person who kind of like unconsciously sabotages relationships. Like you get into them and then you push people away, and then they like stay away, or they like try to work it through with you, but then you push them away again or something like that. This person's so diplomatic, they're going to know how to work through those barriers. So if you're throwing up blocks and challenges and stuff like that, this person's going to work through those barriers with you and get to that point with you where you can have a healthy and kind of like connected relationship. Yeah, the thing is, this person's social circles will expand based on how successful their relationships are. So for example, if say they have like 5 friends, right? And they had like 2 of the friends, there was like drama or whatever, and then they healed that drama and they diplomatically covered that. Now all their 5 friends are on good terms with them. They might be even on good terms with each other. They're going to expand with this Ace of Chalices and find a new connection, right? And they're going to help heal or deal with that person or be diplomatic with that person. So their social circle kind of keeps expanding, and they kind of keep in touch, or they try to keep in touch with as many people as possible that they've met, especially with this 6 of Cups and this 6 of Pentacles. All the people from their childhood to their adulthood, they try to keep in contact with all those people that they've met throughout their life. This is not the type of person to kind of like leave someone in the dust and kind of forget about them. And this is like something that's like so side note to like this person, but with the Emperor here, this person is structured or ordered. They would like a structured or ordered lifestyle, whether they realize it or not. This person kind of is a leader, whether they realize it or not. And sometimes I don't think this person's like realizing it. I mean, if you look at this Emperor in this deck right here, he has his eyes closed and he's in kind of like a meditative pose, indicating that he's like stagnant or not acting. So I think in the leadership realms, they feel like they're not doing anything like extraordinary or extra special or anything like that. Heliodor can be about leadership as a crystal. So that could be also influencing this reading as well. They do have a lot of energy. So they do have a lot of energy to do all of these different things, to make these connections, to be diplomatic, to heal people in their relationships. And they have that other perspective where they can see those things unfolding and stuff. This is going to be a person who's probably, Well, they could range from either being popular or not popular, but my guess is they would be pretty popular, and they would have a lot of friends. And that's just because they're so good at what they do, you know. And it's not just like the last group had a lot of people around them, but it was all more like work acquaintances for that group. This group, it's more like people they genuinely connect with. You won't have to worry about this person being someone who's just kind of like, you know, using you for some other reason besides a genuine, real connection. This person's really interested in the people that they talk to and communicate with, and they really want to get to know them on a real level. And with forgiveness, this might be a way you meet them, is you might do something disheartening to this person, or you might do something and you might really regret it or something, or you might have this way of sabotaging your relationships. And this person is like gonna catch you basically in this sense. Like when you kind of get to that point where you almost sabotage it, this person kind of in a way catches you and kind of like helps you work through that, you know, or is diplomatic through that. First of all, they forgive you for whatever it is that you do to them. And I'm not trying to say you're going to do something bad. It's not really like that. I'm seeing more of like a sense of like unconscious sabotaging. Like it's like almost like you can't help it. Like we talk about this in manifestation a lot as, you know, spiritual people. When you manifest something, there's also the part about receiving your manifestation. It's almost like if this person comes into your life and it feels like too good to be true. Sometimes people sabotage those things and push them away because it like feels too good. This person's going to work with you on that in a very like methodical, I'm seeing with the Emperor, in like a specific way to bring you into alignment with them so you can really appreciate and enjoy your soulmate connection. One you know, little phrase that's coming to mind with this Ace of Cups right here is that you have to fill your own cup before you can fill someone else's, you know. Oprah talks about this, where you have to fill your own cup, and then that way you can fill other people's cups because your own cup is full. That's what this person does. You know, this person doesn't neglect themselves in order to take care of others, or else they wouldn't be able to help or heal other people. They definitely take care of themselves first, and that extends out to other people where they can help and be diplomatic with others. You know, they keep their own cup full, especially with Ace of Cups. In the traditional tarot, it's a cup that's overflowing with water, right? Because it's so filled up to the top with water. Water is just spouting out of it out and around. It's the pure fountain of emotion or joy or positivity, you know? And so that's this person, they kind of like, there's so much coming out that they have to make new connections. They have to heal. They have to help people, you know? That's kind of like, they're kind of like generators of like healing, I guess you could say. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think that about covers it. Let me see if there's anything else I can see. Nope, I think that's about it. If you enjoyed the reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like this reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick a cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, I really enjoyed reading for you, and we're going to move on to the third group with the Green Jade, pile 3. Hello, group 3. This is if you picked the Green Jade. It's a cool little Green Jade cube right there. Let's get into your reading. So for your cards that flipped upright, we had a lot. We had all the tarot cards flipped up upright. First, this one flipped up, and then exactly three came out, so the perfect amount flipped out. We had the Fear card come up upright, Wombat Spirit and Starfish Spirit come up upright for the Animal Oracle card, and Engineer for the Archetype card. The only one that didn't flip up upright was this card right here. So we're going to flip that over now and see what it is. Psychic Protection. Interesting. Around me now, a shield of gold protecting me, strong and bold. Okay, let's get into your reading about your soulmate. I think that if you pick this pile, you're going to be very, very happy with your soulmate because they have some special little gifts and stuff, like in the metaphysical realm, that are going to be very beneficial to you, especially if you struggle dealing with stuff like that. So, for example, if you're the type of person who either like sees ghosts a lot, or you have a lot of like psychic, how do I explain this? if you have a lot of psychic interference in your life or a lot of like psychic debris, I'll just call it psychic debris. If you're like constantly picking up on different things and it's kind of like bombarding you and you're kind of like, okay, I want out of this. Like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. This is like too much. This is the type of person you want in your corner. This is the soulmate that you want. This is kind of what they're, as a soulmate connection, this is kind of what they're coming in to help you with, is like a sense of protection. We see that here with psychic protection. I think it flipped up last because it was like really meant to tie in the whole reading. Like I was seeing certain things in the reading, but this really ties in the whole experience, that this person is going to provide you specifically a sense of psychic protection from kind of like phenomena in your life that's like too overwhelming or too intense, basically. Especially if you open yourself up to the like different realms or like spirits and stuff like that. If you have any like issues around that stuff, or if you like struggle with kind of like blocking off yourself from like negative things in your environment, this person is going to help you create kind of like a positive area where you're kind of protected from those outside attacks, you know. This can also be protection from people who think negative thoughts about you. So people in your environment who kind of have more of a, how do I put this? Basically like almost like psychic attacks. Like this person's going to have like that sphere around you to protect you from this. Yeah. With fear, I've been reading this card as like how you're going to interact with this person or how you first meet them or kind of the connection between both of you. And what I'm seeing here with the fear card is you might actually be a little fearful of your soulmate at first glance. It might be that you, after getting to know them a little bit, that you're not that scared of them anymore and you feel actually protected and safe in their presence. But at first you might feel a little afraid of them. You might think like, whoa, this person's either too intense, or something else about them is they're a little closed off. They keep to themselves, you know. You might think that this person is a little prickly or a little, you don't want to get close to them. You're worried they're going to kind of like attack or something. They just kind of have like a tough outer demeanor. That's kind of just how this person is. And the truth of the matter is they're actually quite safe once you get inside that little bubble. Okay, so first I want to point out the Four of Swords and the Four of Pentacles and the Be at Home card, the Wombat Spirit. One thing with the Four of Pentacles and the Four of Swords, this is indicating a period of rest or isolation away from the world. So in the Four of Pentacles in the traditional card, the guy is away from the city and he's holding on to all his money. It represents kind of like keeping your wealth to yourself and not kind of like reinvesting it into the society around you and kind of like saving it up and building up your own individual position, right? With this person here, they're like in a room, they're in kind of like this building, right? And there's the window outside and she's just stuck with her pentacles inside, right? It looks kind of drab, but this is not like meant to be in this reading. This is actually kind of like, think of this woman instead of like this, with like kind of sad in the house. Like imagine her like having fun counting those pentacles or something, you know? Because I definitely see this person like really enjoys their home life. They really enjoy being at home and like creating that safe haven of a perfect home, you know? This person could be a Cancer, just because, you know, Cancers are so focused on the home environment. With Four of Swords here, they like to create such a peaceful home environment that it's like perfect to rest in. So for example, this person, if you live with them or if you ever decide to live with your soulmate in the future, this person is going to be the type of person who, like, whatever environment they create in their home, if anyone like stays the night there or if people stay the night there, they'll realize they have like these wonderful dreams or these beautiful experiences in their subconscious, because all the psychic debris that would normally interfere with their like kind of wellspring of like intuition is kind of like blocked off, or you're protected from that basically. We also see that again here with the Princess of Wands. Let me see if it's going to be hard to see, but she's holding a plant in her arms and she's surrounded by fire. She's surrounded by fire and she's riding this ferocious tiger and she's holding this very delicate plant in her arms. You can see it right there. And the thing with this is like, this is basically indicating like how they take care of the things that matter to them. You know, they are kind of like this fierce looking person. Like they're almost like a tiger in a sense. They have this like fierce outer shell to them, but what they can like take the most delicate thing and walk into like crazy destruction, and they can just protect that delicate thing the entire way. She's walking through these flames. Imagine this, you can even imagine this tiger on a tightrope, but like she's walking this plant, this perfect delicate little thing with this tiger through these flames and protecting it the entire way. That plant, if it wasn't for her protection or her sense of balance, would be eaten alive by those flames. And that's where the psychic protection comes into play. You can imagine this card as like a metaphor for how they interact with the world and how they're going to protect you from outside influences. With Queen of Swords, this can indicate a person who's very straightforward, but particularly with this queen, I see her kind of like breaking the sword in two, where she's like taking the sword and broken in two by the blade. You can only do this if you have like crazy calluses on your hands, right? Or else she'd cut herself, and she can just snap these blades in two, you know? You can think of air, like symbols like swords and kind of like for example, the Four of Swords here, where she's like sleeping with all the swords. You can imagine those swords as like thoughts or dreams or things that you're dealing with. And because it's like the Four of Swords and not the Nine of Swords, she's having like a peaceful, relaxed sleep. Because this Queen of Swords is kind of like their kind of like protector, right? They're a person that's their like kind of higher self or their spirit guide that's protecting them from these negative swords being thrown their way. You know, they're keeping the home life unburdened, basically. And so that's something about this person, about your soulmate, is that they have this ability to protect whatever they keep in their zone. Like whatever's in their zone or their area of expertise or their territory, they kind of carve out this territory for themselves, and whatever is in it is like protected from these forces, you know? Yeah, you can imagine these kind of two people, this Princess of Wands and this Queen of Swords, is kind of like their spirit guides, kind of like helping them with like, right here you have this one protecting the delicate thing through the crazy flames, and you have this other one right here who's like snapping these negative thoughts in two, you know, and like blocking them from the mind, right? This person also, with engineer card right here, this person is a problem solver. It says ability to give creative energy a practical expression, talent for designing resolutions to common dilemmas. They're kind of like a good problem solver with the small things in life. So for example, if you have like a little household frustration or a household difficulty, they'll be able to solve it really quickly. They'll be able to get down to the bottom of something with relative ease, basically without any fuss or bother. They're not the type to like over dramatize like practical problems. They're very much like with it in the practical sphere, so they can get down and deal with these practical things like pretty easily. With the Starfish Spirit, open to infinite possibility and be at home, this is just indicating that their home life, once again, I know this is talking about their home life, but the cards are really urging me to mention this. With open to infinite possibilities, they're saying that there's a reason why there's this protection from outside influences that are negative, right? That they're blocking these influences out, because with open to infinite possibility, you have this starfish right here, and it's basically just saying that the mind can fully expand and breathe when it's not being bombarded by different swords and thoughts and different things, right? The mind can spread out like a starfish and just kind of like expand, right? So basically whatever territory they have, they create this beautiful place where you can have the psychic space to dream and relax and recharge, and you can let your mind open. You can bridge it out without fearing that you're gonna like, how do I put this? Pick up on some weird kind of energy in your environment. You know, like you can let your mind just expand as much as you want, right? So specifically this person with their territory, this person might have like a particular home base or something, but at the same time, this can apply when you're walking out with them in the world, especially with this Princess of Wands card, where she's on the tiger and she's like taking the plant with her. Because you're with this person, you are going to be able to have the psychic space to dream in your environment, because they kind of block off that kind of like negative vibrations that come at you, or that come at people, basically. So whoever they're like protecting, they're really like protective of this person. And I'm seeing that for your soulmate, like it's really going to be a little scary when you first meet them with the fear card. It's almost like they seem frightening from a distance, because I feel like it's almost like you're not used to seeing kind of like, how do I put this? it's almost like the eye of the storm. It's like once you're in the middle of the hurricane, it's like everything's safe and protective, you know? But when you're around it, it's like you just see that they have these barriers up that are like blocking off all these psychic attacks, you know? And so with the fear card, it's just saying that like it almost seems a little intimidating, right? Because their outer shell almost feels kind of like a war zone, I guess is the best way to put it. And so, but once you're in there and you're getting to know them, they're actually really sweet and kind and like considerate and caring towards people, the people that they let into their inner zone. And I feel like they're very nice when you like meet them. These are the type of people who just like other people who have like hostile intentions toward them, do not mess with them. They do not mess with them, and they don't even think negative thoughts about them, because this person's actually not that scary once you get to know them. They're actually kind of like kind, you know? But yeah, definitely this person has some tough ass spirit guides that are like helping them and like helping them deal with all these things in their life, you know? And basically once you're like close with them, and the one thing that this person's bringing to you as far as a soulmate connection is that ability to be open and dream and have the psychic space to dream. Basically, because these fours are here, I'm definitely seeing, and with engineer here, I'm thinking of like household things. I'm seeing this person as someone you might live with for a specific amount of time, or someone that you might share a living space with, or carve out an area with this person where it's like both of you have like your own safe haven where you can kind of like hide away and be in this one world together, like without any bothering or dealing with anyone else in your environment. You basically kind of have this like protective sphere around you, basically. I have to just mention it because the Four of Pentacles is here. This person might be a little frugal or saving with their money, or kind of collect different things. They might be kind of like a collector where they kind of like keep certain things in their environment or in their house or in their world that they live in, that they kind of collect from the outside. And like once they bring them into their safe space, it's like everything's kind of purified and feels kind of like wholesome and healthy in that environment. Like I said, they're going to seem a little intense at first when you first interact with them, or when you're first meeting them. I actually don't think you need to worry too much, because you're probably thinking like, you know, if there's, you know, intense people in my environment, like how do I know who's like actually intense and who's not intense, you know? I'm just seeing this as more like a sense of nervousness when you first meet them. That's what the kind of fear card can remind me of too, is it's like a sense of nervousness, or a sense of like, how do I put this? Almost like a sense of tension. The way you're going to know that this person is your soulmate is when you get close to them, that sense of tension is going to go away. Like that sense of tension when you get close to them is you're going to feel all of a sudden like really good, really happy, really positive. You're going to feel like your negative thoughts are kind of disappearing, or they're going away, or you're going to feel like you don't have that psychic debris floating around in your head anymore. You might have really positive dreams. You know, if you ever spend the night with this person, you'll definitely have positive dreams. And yeah, this just seems like a really good connection. I'm really glad it's coming your way. I'm glad you came to this reading, because I really feel like this person's really healthy for you. And I'm just very happy to deliver this message to you, to be honest, because this is a really cool person that you're going to be meeting, who your soulmate is. And if you already know who your soulmate is and you've met them already, this is just double confirmation of that. And it was probably cool to hear about them in a tarot reading. Anyway, so if you like that reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like this reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick-a cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, we're going to move on to the last group, group 4, with the blue Aragonite. Thank you, guys. Hey, group 4. This is if you picked the blue Aragonite. Such a cool stone. Anyway, I'm pretty happy when I got to this pile, and I don't know if that's just because the joy card came out, but I definitely feel an uplift in my mood. Okay, so the cards that flipped up upright for you guys when I was shuffling was Panther Spirit, Reclaim Your Power, Joy, and Avenger and Servant for your archetype cards. As far as the tarot cards, we had one card flip up, the 5 of Chalices, and the rest I had to draw. And also with your Love Story Oracle card, that didn't come up upright either, so I had to draw that one as well. So without further ado, let's get into your reading and see what else you got. So, for, for your first Love Story Oracle card, we have Rejection. And I'll explain what that means in a second. That doesn't mean you're not going to get along with your soulmate, basically. Prince of Pentacles is your oracle card. Then we have Three of Wands and the Death card. Let me take a quick look at what Servant says. Delight in serving others with a free and loving heart. Okay, so first of all, I feel for this person because I'm seeing here with the Three of Wands and the Five of Chalices that they've had more of a... I know Joy card came up and I was really excited for this reading, but they also have a very melancholic side to themselves. So how do I put this? If you look at these cards here, this is kind of like a theme that I'm noticing throughout the reading. If you look at these two cards, there's two women here and they're both looking and there's rivers below them. This woman has a river here in her reflection, and this woman over here has a river blowing by these three wands or these three bamboo sticks. This is very indicative of kind of like their position or how they feel in the world. Your soulmate, in a sense, like if you imagine like a princess or a prince or someone in a castle, right? And there's a moat surrounding the castle, like a moat of water, and moats are used for castles to like protect them so people can't get to the castle, right? You know, there's the drawbridge, and if you can't get by the moat, you know, you can't get into the castle. But at the same time, if you're in that castle, you can't, this is the type of person who can't really get out of the castle, right? They're kind of stuck inside themselves and they have a difficult time like branching out or getting out, or kind of getting out of their own way, basically. With the Five of Cups, this could be just a matter of perspective, and but it's definitely something where they feel stuck inside themselves, basically. Like they almost feel like they're stuck in their own mind, is the best way to put it, right? This is just something psychological that's going on with them. They're not really sure how to get through it. They're not really sure how to like get out of it. They're just kind of like, they're aware that they're kind of surrounded by this moat and that it's kind of like almost impossible for them to like branch out or make connections. They might be the type of person who they're like stuck in their own head a lot, and they have a hard time like branching out to like connect with other people. With the Joy card though, I see that they're always happy, that this doesn't really bother them, or this has become kind of like an accepted companion in their life. Like they've kind of almost accepted this ability, or this, not ability, but this almost like handicap of them like being stuck behind like a certain like, how do I put this? Like there's just this sense that they can't connect with people and they've made peace with it. That's what I'm trying to say. And this Joy card basically means that they're very happy even though they know they can't connect with people, or that it's a struggle to connect with people. And I don't want to use the word struggle because it's just something that they're kind of feel sad about, they wish wasn't there, but they've learned over time with this Reclaim Your Power especially, and these trees growing in the Prince of Pentacles, they've slowly learned over time that this water that's surrounding them, this barrier of water that's surrounding them, is kind of just something that exists in their life, and they've just accepted it. They just know that it's difficult for them to connect, and that's kind of all there is to it, you know? They've faced with this rejection card. This card does represent kind of like your connection with them at first, or a thing that's going to happen between you two, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But this rejection card can also be a symbol of this connection because they feel in a way rejected by people all the time because they just have such a hard time connecting with others. Now it's interesting with Reclaim Your Power and even the Death card a little bit, and also the Prince of Pentacles. With the Panther Spirit Reclaim Your Power, this is the type of person who kind of reinvents themselves within themselves. So even though they have struggled to connect with others, they feel like there's a barrier between them and the outer world, they still reinvent themselves internally all the time. Like if they're done with a certain way of being or a certain way of like being in the world or being by themselves even, they'll change that, and they'll change how they think. They'll change how they problem solve. They'll change their opinions. They'll change their mind. They'll change they'll change what's going on with them to kind of branch out, or to kind of like reach out, not really of their bubble, but like reach out from within their own mind. So like, for example, even though they might have a hard time connecting, especially with the water overflowing around them, I see this is not really a situation where it's a matter of like not enough emotion to connect, like they're too logical or in their heads that way to connect. It's almost like they're too emotional to connect. Like they're the type of person who kind of has like a lot of feelings, or they're very sensitive, and that's kind of what creates this struggle for them to connect with others, you know? With Prince of Pentacles here, this is also indicating that this person with the sense of projects, they like doing little projects that bring them a financial return. So they might be good at making money, and it might be a way for them to branch out into the world. So they might, you know, find their job very rewarding, you know, because it actually brings them a lot of money and they can make money doing it, or they might find a project to make money in another way. And it kind of brings them kind of like a sense of reward. And these kind of like practical projects like help grow their roots. And these trees in this Prince of Pentacles card, these trees, and the sun behind specifically is a strong symbol here as well, to help grow. The trees kind of grow based on these like little practical projects, or these little projects that they start and begin. You know, they like being in the student role and like learning things from the ground up. And with the sun here, with the joy, their joy and their happiness fuels their sense of well-being. And they've struggled to discover this within themselves. But the thing is, they did discover this, and they're constantly reclaiming that as their power. They're constantly kind of finding their light within, and kind of realizing that they have hope for the future, that they have a sense of purpose for the future, and a sense of purpose for the life in front of them. It's really kind of interesting how they operate. And I feel like when you get to know this person, because this rejection card is almost like a symbol of how kind of like they see you at first. Like they feel like you would kind of like reject them, or it'd be difficult to connect with you. But at the same time, with this rejection card, they do get to that point where the match does get lit. You know, that spark does get shown, or that spark does get lit. And with the Death card, this is a very transformational experience for them when they meet you. This is kind of going into how you guys meet and stuff, or if you did meet, because they don't really connect with too many people. And with the Death card here, they learn that like these trees, kind of like this growth, and these like, it's almost like they're living in the woods, and the woods is surrounded by this river, you know, the circular river, and they're growing their trees up and up and up. And the higher these trees grow, the more they can climb those trees and see beyond the river, see beyond those things. You know, if you look down here, they're down by the river. You know, they're looking at the water, and they're kind of kneeling down, and they're looking at how they interact with this water, their reflection in the water, and they're not really seeing beyond. But if this person climbs these trees in the middle of this moat, where there's the water here and the water on this side, if this person climbs these trees through their practical projects, through their ability to make money, through their ability to help grow their personality, through stimulating joy within themselves and keeping themselves feeling joyful, they eventually, these trees grow so high that they're able to see out and see around them, around this river and this moat. It's true that they will never, ever be the type to really reach out and connect with others. That's something that's really strong, but they'll be able to see it coming from a mile away. And that's kind of their saving grace, is the fact that they can, first of all, reclaiming their power in a sense helps these trees grow in their garden. And once these trees go tall, beautiful, and strong, they can see things from a mile away. So for example, they'll be able to see, if their garden's pretty large, basically, they'll be able to see you coming from a mile away, and they'll know that they'll be able to connect with you. They won't be able to reach out to you, but they'll be able to see you coming, right? And they'll know, you know, I'm seeing with rejection that it might be before they've kind of like met you. And this is the type of person, for example, just to be like basic, you know, metaphors aside, you will have to approach them. This soulmate is going to be the type of person who's going to want the person to approach them, because they have struggle connecting. They're the type of person who wants you to build the relationship with them, to reach out to them, to help them. And it's interesting with this with their connections with people, right? When people kind of reach out and connect with them, the cool thing about this is with the death card is they kind of get these like transformative experiences with these people that kind of reach out to connect with them, and it kind of makes them feel a little less alone. Even though they struggle kind of connecting with others, they still feel good that people can connect with them, if that makes sense. Even though they can't really connect with others, it's like people can still connect with them. Like, it's one of those situations where when you're connecting with this person, you won't feel alone, but they will kind of always be feeling slightly alone, in a sense. But they're happy with it. I mean, they've made peace with the fact that they struggle to connect with people. This person could have, a kind of like mental barrier, or like it's almost like it could be considered a mental disorder, how they can't connect with people because they can't really, how do I put this? Except they've made peace with it. They live with it, and they can function with it, basically. It's not something that wears on their life. It bothered them initially when they were growing up, but then they learned that they could like find peace within their personal projects and realize that they could make their garden grow like even bigger and stronger with, cultivating their own joy for themselves and being with themselves, With servant, this person really loves to help others, even though they don't connect with them fully. This person really loves to help others. And avenger, they feel like they are in charge of righting the wrongs of other people, right? So they might be the type, when people finally connect with them, they might tell them things like, oh yeah, you shouldn't let that person do that to you because, you should stand up for yourself in this way, or you should do this and this. They like to help people through that and kind of like avenge their aggressors through these like conversations, basically. Yeah, they really do transform themselves often. They dig into their own issues. They do things with their own identity where they kind of dig into their persona. They might change their opinions, change the way they think, change the way they view things. They reclaim their power every so often because, they kind of get brought down again, and then they have to discover that joy. You can think of this joy and this sun kind of coming, and you can think of the cycles of the sun and the moon. When this sun comes up and they feel that joy for themselves, they realize that's the time to make their move. That's the time to make their move in life and in love and in anything, in career matters. When the sun is up, they know that's when the trees are growing. That's when they have plenty of water with that moat going on, but that's when the trees are growing. And when the trees are growing, they know they can reach and achieve more in that situation. So that's kind of when they tend to their garden, when they deal with those things and they reclaim their power. This leads them to a strong, powerful transformation, basically by utilizing the light around them and the light in their atmosphere. Wow, sorry, this reading was very metaphorical because there's just a lot of like imagery that kind of describes them that's hard to describe their personality without kind of using this imagery, because it's hard to get to the core of like why they are the way they are without kind of seeing like the predicament that they're in, or like visualizing what they're kind of experiencing, And with this rejection card, you might feel, or they might feel like rejected by you, or you might feel rejected by them, but really it's just more a core to the point of who they are. Like, this person just does feel kind of like lonely a lot, right? Or they feel like they can't really connect, and that might feel at first like a rejection, but really it's just about, this is the kind of soulmate that's kind of hoping, or the universe is kind of hoping to teach you with this person or this soulmate. The fact that you guys have been through these lives together and your soulmates in this life, it's about you reaching out. And this is kind of a triggering point for maybe you and them, but this is about you reaching out and connecting with them, and kind of you kind of like being the one that's kind of like the one that bridges the connection in this kind of relationship. Now, you might be the type of person who already does that. You might connect with people already easily and naturally. You might always be the initiator in these situations, and that's like a really positive thing. But I'm sensing for some of you that picked this pile, you might not be used to initiating. You may have done it in the past and found that it was tolerable or decent or like okay, but this soulmate's here to show you that like of the importance of initiating, and why you can't always receive all the time, and why it's important to initiate relationships, because there are people out there that are dealing with this kind of predicament, and they really just physically and like emotionally can't connect to others right off the bat, and especially like in the beginning stages of a connection, you know? All right, well, that was your guys' reading. If you enjoyed this reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like this reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick a cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, we're going to end the readings there. I really enjoyed reading for you guys. I will see you later, and see you in the next pick a card. Bye.